I know it's been a while, but we've been on holiday and I got kind of busy and I kind of forgot to make some YouTube videos, but we're back, and to make it up to you today, we're making Millionaire shortbread from my cookbook, Zoet Deeg. So this is, I think, one of my favorite recipes. I know it's my husband's favorite recipe. It's delicious. It's a layer of shortbread, caramel and chocolate. Yeah, what more can I say? It's amazing. So we're starting with our first layer, the shortbread layer. I think the downside of this recipe is that you need to let everything cool off in between. So you're waiting quite a bit for it to be finished, but it's not actively working on it, so it's just waiting around. But I usually take around the whole day to make it, just so everything is cooled off very well, nothing blends together. If you're pouring your chocolate over your hot caramel, it blends, and you don't want that. You want those separate layers. So for your shortbread, it's important that your butter is cold, because you don't want to mix it in too well, because then you won't get that shortbread flakiness, that crumbliness. So we're starting out with 250 grams of flour and 100 grams of white sugar and 200 grams of unsalted cold butter cut in cubes and a pinch of salt. That's it for our shortbread layer. So I'm going to just add everything. Now you can do this with your hands, but like I said, just work quick because you don't want the butter to melt. I have one of these, not quite sure what they're called, but you just kind of press it into your pastry until it becomes a bit flaky, crumbly.
So knead the dough by gently rubbing the butter between your fingers until you have a dough that is still crumbly, yet if you squeeze it, it holds its shape. That's when you know you're done. Like this. But it's still crumbly.
So that's our shortbread pastry. Now we're going to grease the baking sheet or the baking dish. I use a 9 by 9 inch, 23 by 23 centimeters. Little tip, if you have your wrapper from your butter, just use that to grease your baking tin. I'm going to use baking paper as well, so the butter is mainly that your baking paper sticks to your tin. Like this. Now just add your pastry and just press it down until you have a nice and smooth shortbread crust.
Divide your pastry into your baking dish and press it down with either using your hands, or if you want a smoother surface, use a glass and press it down until you have a nice and smooth pastry. When you're done, put it in the oven at 160 degrees for about 30 minutes or until it's nice and golden brown. Now it's still pretty soft when it comes out of the oven, but it sets when it cools off. The shortbread layer has cooled off, and now we're going to make the caramel layer. First we have a saucepan, then you add 1 tin of sweet condensed milk. Love this stuff. Scrape down the side so you get everything. And then you add 80 grams of light brown sugar, 80 grams of unsalted butter, and a little bit more than a pinch of salt, let's say 2 pinches. Like this. And then put it on the stove, keep on stirring until you have a nice caramelly texture, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Add your pan to a low to medium heat and keep on stirring until the butter and sugar has melted, and afterwards keep on stirring until it's nice and bubbly and your mixture starts to thicken like this. Now keep on stirring because otherwise it will stick to the bottom and it will burn, and that's a waste. So that was pretty easy, right? So we have a nice thick caramel, and obviously this will set once it cools off. So now pour it over your shortbread, and because it's cooled off, it won't, crumble or break or anything. So pour it over and then smooth it out. Spread out your caramel evenly over your shortbread crust, and if you can, use a spatula because it's very nice and relaxing. You can keep on doing it over and over again, but once you're done, put it in the fridge until the caramel is set. It takes about an hour or so.
The caramel is cooled off, and now we're going to melt the chocolate. You can do this either with a double boiler, or I'm feeling a bit lazy today and I'm just doing it in the microwave. This is 300 grams of dark chocolate with 50 grams of unsalted butter, and this is 25 grams of white chocolate. Now you just put it in the microwave, 30-second increments, and then stir so that nothing burns. Okay. I always forget, I pretty much never use my microwave, so I store stuff in there. I always forget that. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, nothing has really melted, but just give it a stir and just keep on going with those 30-second increments, because you don't want to burn the chocolate or let it separate. So yeah, it does take a couple of minutes to get it all melty, but the microwave is doing all the work. And the dark, look, beautiful. It has some small little lumps in here, but the residual heat will melt that. So just keep on stirring until you have smooth melted chocolate with no lumps. So it's very smooth and beautiful, and now I'm just going to pour the dark chocolate over the caramel. And just smooth it out. Gorgeous. Now we have our white chocolate, and some people like to do this in a piping bag and make neat lines and then drag a toothpick through those lines. You get those pointy ends, but that's just too much work for me. I don't like it, and I like using my spatula. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add dollops of white chocolate. Just swirl. Okay. And now I'm going to use my spatula to swirl the chocolate. Make sure you don't swirl too much because you don't want to have a mix. You do want to see those swirls of chocolate, and you don't want to have a lighter brown top. You do want to see dark chocolate, white chocolate. Okay, so we're done. That was it already. And now I'm going to put this in the fridge to set up completely. Now, I do like it when my chocolate has a little bit of a snap, or at least, let's say, a harder bite. So I want it to be very cold. So I'll leave it in the fridge probably for a couple of hours, and then I'll get back to you. It's a couple of hours later. It's so hot today, so I took off my sweater. These have been setting in the fridge. Let's pop them out. Yeah. The smell alone, it's just caramel, chocolate, buttery. I'm going to cut these into 16 equal portions, so I'm just going to measure it out. Like I said, it's 23 centimeters, so that's 11 and a half. Make a little cut. And do the same over here, 11 and a half cut. Yeah. So I bought one of these at a bakery actually quite a while ago, and it was around 5 or 6 euros. So I'm not sure what the entire thing cost. I'll calculate it and put it somewhere over here. But maybe even like that same amount. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's super delicious, super easy to make. So don't buy it, just make it yourself. Store them in the fridge. They last for around 3 to 4 days, although I'm pretty sure they won't last that long. And enjoy. So let me know if you made them, what you think of it, how you like them, and please consider liking and subscribing, obviously, and then I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Just look at that nice crumbly layer of shortbread, thick layer of caramel, and then the delicious chocolate. This is seriously the best. Go and make it.